going on, ladies and gentlemen? Luke Innes here. Time for another film review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. Okay, so in 1990 it came time to remake the classic movie. Tom Savini was chosen to lead the way as the director. George Romero wrote a new screenplay based on his original from 1968. A lot of the old crew returned for this, you know, John Russo and Russ Striner were involved in producing the movie, etc. The movie stars Patricia Tallman and Tony Todd, got a lot of T's, as Barbara and Ben. And essentially the story remains pretty much exactly the same. Barbara and her brother Johnny are riding through the cemetery 200 miles from home to visit their mother rather than their father this time. While they get attacked by a zombie, and it turns out that this is going on everywhere. Barbara ends up at her house, Johnny's dead. There she meets Ben, and they hole up in the house and decide to try and board themselves in and defend the property. Eventually they find that there are 5 more people in the basement of the house. From there the group decide to try and defend the property as best they can and hopefully try and find a way out of what is going on. You all know my thoughts on Night of the Living Dead by now, I'm sure. That's one of my favourite movies of all time. I haven't actually reviewed the movie, but I have done an audio commentary on it, which I'll leave a link to in the description. You may not know that I do quite like this remake as well. A lot of that is down to the fact that it has so much respect for the original that it essentially takes the story and tries to right its wrongs, you know. I mean, without a doubt, to me, Night of the Living Dead is an amazing, perfect movie, but that doesn't mean that there's not stuff that could have been done differently. I guess the key thing that is most noticeable straight away in this movie is the difference in the character of Barbara. Now, Barbara in the original movie kind of doesn't do an awful lot. She is kind of the initial focus of the movie, and it's quite jarring because after that initial part she kind of becomes a background character a little bit, and she sort of enters into like a sort of catatonic state and doesn't really become involved in what's going on. In this movie, however, after some initial hesitance, she becomes the hero of the film, really, which is interesting, and there's a lot of kind of goodwill behind that. And I can see why the decision was taken to do that. It's definitely the one area of improvement that Night of the Living Dead really has that should have been worked on a bit more, although I can kind of see what they were trying to do with that character. Unfortunately, a byproduct of that is that this movie has the opposite problem, and Barbara kind of goes from being this kind of dowdy, shy, young woman, quite prim and proper, to being this kind of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, you know, sort of shotgun wielding Ash from the Evil Dead, only more badass, and you know, in a very short span of time, which is a shame because it doesn't feel that believable. The transformation isn't that good. It could have been done a lot better. But having said that, there are other things about the movie that are really effectively done. I mean, the movie kind of dials back on Ben being totally infallible, almost infallible like he is in the original movie. In this, he does make mistakes. Ben does make mistakes. He's prone to error in this movie. Despite the fact that he is very brave, as he was in the original, he is a lot more inclined to error. Obviously, the kind of rivalry between him and Harry Cooper is the same in the movie, but it's kind of, there's a little bit more give on Ben's side in terms of who is right and who is wrong. Now, for example, there's one scene where Harry is bringing the television from the upstairs into the downstairs. Ben thinks he's taking it into the basement, so Ben throws the TV down the steps, and Harry points out that he couldn't have gotten a reception in the basement anyway. He was bringing the TV downstairs for everyone to look at. It's got to be said as well, and you almost certainly saw this coming, but being directed by Tom Savini, the effects in the movie are amazing. You know, some of the gunshot wounds and all of that sort of thing looks superb. The zombies have a really interesting look as well in this movie because they're kind of a little bit more yellow. They look almost sort of jaundiced in a way, which is a very interesting look for the zombie. You know, that's obviously inspired by an element of kind of real human anatomy and that, so that rather than going kind of grey like zombies tend to, these zombies are a bit more yellow looking. And it's quite a nice touch because it does give the film a pretty unique, I guess, look against other zombie movies. Something interesting the movie does as well is introduce the characters in the basement a lot sooner than the original movie does. This kind of gives a little bit more opportunity to explore the kind of battle for control within the house. Kind of most of the movie, in a way, is based on that. I've got to say that the beginning of this movie is pretty stunted though. All the stuff with Johnny, played by Bill Moseley, who gives his usual hand-up performance. All of the kind of stuff initially with Barbara finding the house, meeting Ben, all of that kind of feels like it doesn't have the right rhythm to me. Obviously nowhere near as good as it was in the original. One of my favourite things about this movie has got to be the way that it pays homage to its source material perfectly, and a lot of that's down to the fact that it's written by the guy who created the original, you know. But yeah, this film has a perfect respect to that movie for me, and it's a really commendable effort, I've got to say. It does you know, at the same time as showing reverence to this classic film and paying tribute to the fans and all of that sort of thing, it brings new ideas to the table. There's plenty of stuff that could have been done better about this movie, but there's also some interesting ideas kind of worked into this that weren't in the original. So for that reason, overall, I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. It's not quite the classic that the original was, obviously it was never going to be, but it is definitely a really interesting movie that I feel people should check out. It's you know, if nothing else, it is a mighty fine zombie movie. It just happens to share a name with one of the greatest, the second greatest zombie movie. So yeah, an 8 out of 10 for the 1990 version of Night of the Living Dead from me. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Luke Innes, and please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But if you do one thing based on watching this video, please check out my podcast. It's called Ironcast. It's all about music. There's a link to it in the description. Please go and check it out, even if you only listen to one episode. But it's like heroin, it's really addictive. You'll be back for more straight away. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, see you next time.